Hello, my name is Juan and I hate painting blue, and welcome to another P.A.B. frequently asked questions, Q&A, whatever you want to call it, a place where you can share all your questions, all those hobby-related things that you need an answer for, and I will be here for an hour and a half to solve them the best I can. So please, can anyone tell me if the audio is working, please? Oh yeah, perfect. Thank you, Matthew. So before we start, please start putting all your questions in the live chat. But I will first want to say a couple of things. There's a couple of things that are on my mind that I need to say before we start. So first of all, there is one viewer that I want to give a shout out to. His name is Casey, if I recall correctly. And he always leaves comments, and I really appreciate it, but that's not what I want to give him a shout out. I know he's going through a rough spot now. He left a comment in the last video that was really touching, and I just he just told me he commented that he was recently homeless. And he was going through a rough spot, and each time one of my videos, one of the notifications from my videos came through, he felt better. He really wanted me to know that I was really helping him, and it's one of those things that is really touching and very humbling, because as a content creator, you never think what you do has any effect on anyone. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that that you just do for fun. At least I just do for fun, and you just think that it's just goofing around. But knowing that it has an effect on someone, even if it's just one person, it's really touching. So, Casey, just please know that I want to believe that. Not rough spots don't last forever, so stay strong, and please, if you see this, and if you don't, just in case, I will leave a comment I will answer to your last comment on one of my videos. Please send me an email or contact me through any social media. You know what the links are, and I will send you a link to the Patreon exclusive Discord. I know it's not much, but if I can help you even a little bit forget what you're going through, just I will be really happy. So contact me, please, if you listen to this or if you see the answer to your comment. And secondly, thank you to all the people that have bought any minis from me. It's been a bit of a delay since I wanted to be sure that the packaging was alright, that they won't get hurt through transit, and everything is now packed, and I plan to send them hopefully this week, if I have time. Work's been a bit of a nightmare lately. So please, thank you. First of all, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And secondly, please be patient. Your minis will arrive as soon as I can send them. Also, of course, if you want any of my minis, everything that you see painted in the Heavy Contrast series will be for sale immediately after the video is published. Of course, my patrons already know that, and they have first dibs on the minis, but if you want any of them, just contact me and I will I will tell you the price, and we can talk. Right now, the only thing available is the Daughter of Cain and the Genus Gods. So, well, if you want any of those, just let me know. And now, let's start with the questions. Let me see. Thackeray is asking, any tips for using contrast on large vehicles? Well, yeah, get an airbrush. I mean, I could tell you, I know there is possibly a way to do it with a brush, but it's going to be extremely wasteful because you're going to apply a layer to one panel with a very large brush, so that soaks up a lot of paint, and then you will have to clean that brush and start and absorb any excess, so you are going to be wasting a lot of paint. So my recommendation is just get an airbrush and do it that way. It works really well. I have Nicholas here, one of my YouTube members. Happy to see you here, mate. Hello, Heather, another of my patrons. Amazing person. If you want to see what she does, she's the real Iron Hand on Instagram. Amazing. Thank you, Benjamin. So Philosophy is asking if I have plans on doing NMM brass. Yeah, I mean that is a hard one. Brass is really difficult because you go into gold really quickly. Brass and gold are really similar. But I do have plans. The problem is I'm trying to look for the paints that suit the best. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. But I know that you can make fairly good brass using Vallejo paints. If you take sorry for that, guys. So if you start with something like Japanese uniform, if the camera wants to pick it up, this kind of tone, that's a really good start. And I will shade it using English uniform, which is a brown with quite a lot of green in it, and it's a really good color for that. It's a very beautiful drab color. And then you can go darker using another kind of grayish, greenish color, something like, I don't know. Let me see. Something like Castellan green, or something even darker than this, or maybe this mixed with a bit of black. And you can highlight it using something like ice yellow and ivory. Fantastic colors. And you will get something really simple. I'm still working on it. It's a very hard color to pull off. Any tips for red over a black dark primer? Yeah, Mephiston Red. Mephiston Red covers 3 layers over black and it will give you a perfect coverage. Mephiston Red is the best red paint ever made. Are you going to do more green stuff guides? Yes, I will, but just when I need to sculpt something for one of the minis. So, as you know, doing the Stormcast project, I have to sculpt a lot. So, for the next one, I'm going to sculpt a hood over his head, and that will require me to actually do it. So, I will do a video for that. And if I have to sculpt something for any project, I will just do it on camera, because why not? But I won't go to record a specific guides, because honestly, almost no one watches them. And it's not that I don't like making them, but it's a bit heartbreaking when you put a lot of effort in the video. It's about a week to make one, and doesn't get enough views. I just prefer to make something that people actually watches. But yeah, I will. Oh, thank you. What was that? Thank you, HulkTube. $5. You are amazing. Winter is hard for me and I usually lose motivation. Any tips for increasing motivation and inspiration in difficult times? Yeah, yes, because that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. And my recommendation is, even if you don't do, even if you feel like you don't want to paint a lot, try to just sit down and do, whatever, even if it's just base coating some boots on the minis or whatever. Just pick the brush and do something that, even if you think you won't do much, I assure you, once you sit down and start painting, you will paint a lot. I have had those rough spots, rough moments, especially during all the quarantine and all the lockdown, that I wasn't feeling like painting and just sitting down to put a base coat of something, and then hours pass and I've finished a couple of models. So yeah, just try to sit down and force yourself to paint one simple task, and I assure you, you will paint more. And thank you again. Let's just jumped. Oh yeah, here we are. Gomithara is asking, what do you think is the hardest thing have you overcome and or done as a miniature painter? And also, what technique is the hardest to learn and master? The hardest thing I've done is obviously the Eldar Exarch. That was insane. But it's not that it's it's not that it was hard to paint because of the techniques. Well, all the freehand was actually hard, but the rest is just endurance. It's just an endurance race. You just sitting down and knowing you will be there for about 100 hours, just refining blends again and again, and just blending all the time. You need to have the correct state of mind, and that's probably the hardest thing to learn. Is just trying not to rush things. That's really hard for some people. It was hard for me, actually. John is asking in Spanish, but I will translate it for all of you. Is asking, what will be the next Age of Sigmar mini that I'm going to paint for the heavy contrast, and it's going to be the Arcanaut Company, as voted for by my patrons. That will be the next Age of Sigmar mini, but that won't be the next video, because the next video is Iyanden Eldar, because I want to alternate 40k and Age of Sigmar, so it doesn't goes too many videos of one of the games. So the next video will be Iyanden Eldar, and the video after that will be Arcanaut Company for the Caradron Overlords. Lead Belcher armor. Heather is asking, lead Belcher armor con red ropes, which brown for horses and which to highlight them. I will probably go with Rhinox hide and highlighting them with flesh tones, because that combines really well with the red clothes. And for that, just take a look at which was the last one that I made with leather. For the Katachan, just paint Rhinox hide. You can wash it with Noon oil, then do Rhinox hide again, leaving the Noon oil in the recesses, and just highlight it as I did there with flesh stones. It works really well. Isn't there minis featured on your videos you keep for yourself? Yes, you can see me paint part of my High Elf army. You can see that in the TMM sword video, and in the how to base like the water effects, and those are for my personal High Elf army, and those aren't for sale. And also, I'm not sure still if I want to keep the Shovelcast project once it's finished. I don't know. It's kind of bugging me. The main issue is I don't like minis to stand in my shelves just gathering dust. I think that's very sad. So I'm not sure if I'm going to sell them or not. Who knows? I still have to think about it. But yes, if you ever see me paint something for one of my armies, so if you ever seen a Bretonnian, High Elf, Lizardman, or undead, well, my undead army is already finished, but if you ever see me paint something ghostly or whatever, that is probably for my undead army, so that I will keep. But I only keep things that I plan to play with. Happy to help, philosophy, as always. Hi, do you think humidity matters for how smoothly the contrast paints cover? Probably yes. I think that is the problem with those kinds of paints, and with paints in general, and that includes wet palettes, is that I put that here, or I will be just looking at this the whole time. Well, the problem with contrast paints and with paints in general, and also with a wet palette, is it will behave differently depending on your humidity, and that is something that is really hard to nail down. People ask me, well, my wet palette is very wet, or my wet palette dries a lot. What I'm doing wrong? Probably nothing. Probably it's just the ambient humidity you have in your room. For example, I have one wet palette here in my just next to me, and this is a very humid room, so it's always very swampy. It's like the blue lid is always covered with water. In comparison, I have another one in my workshop. I sometimes paint in my spare time when I'm eating or whatever, and that is the same wet palette, the same water, but that is a very dry place, and I see absolutely nothing of that water on the lid. So and paints there dry faster. Paints here get very wet in the wet palette, and it's just for the humidity in the air. So I'm sure that the humidity affects the contrast paints, for sure. What about cone red? Cone red covers really well over black too. Again, 2 or 3 layers, thin layers as is usual, and that will cover really, really well. I know if that was related to that, but yes. Citadel has some really good paints, some paints that are not the best of among all the brands, but the reds are absolutely stunning. All the reds from Citadel are amazing, so always a good choice. Philip John Ryan is asking, I've been doing a Necron army with Vallejo metal colors and some stuff. Oh yeah, he's just that is a great recipe there. So thank you, Benjamin. My accent is very soothing. It really gets me in the mood to paint. Thank you. It's funny because no one gets I'm Spanish from my accent, which I guess is due to my parents being really good parents and sending me to England a lot of times. So I guess that shows. Yeah. Hogtube answers, he really struggles with schedules, and that will make that a priority. I also struggle with schedules. I'm a master procrastinator. Like you wouldn't believe it. So I have this channel it's been helping me a lot, keeping a schedule of hobby time, so I don't just go to YouTube and just watch videos and do nothing. So it's if you just try to do something and try to focus a bit, you will do well. I know that struggle really well. Matthew Stanley, oh yes, answering. Mr. Skullface, hello, I have been a miniature sculptor for about 10 years. Is there anything sculptors can do to make painting models easier? Especially, we do so much work digitally. Yes, trying not to sculpt details that are too small. That is always hard, especially digitally. With hand sculpting, it's not that bad, but also really good definition. So you need shapes that are really well defined, not just like confusing. That's why just take a look at the work of Edgar Ramos. Look at him on Instagram. He's one of the best sculptors I've ever seen. He's from the same city as I am, and I've watched him grow from starting sculpting into becoming a fully professional sculptor for a ton of companies, including Games Workshop. And his digital work will really show you how much you have to exaggerate volumes and shapes so they look good. So check him out, he's amazing. Okay, Nick Schoolcraft, best way to paint TMM silver with interesting color nuances from the surrounding environment, sky, earth. So I will just paint like my TMM videos, so starting with a Vallejo Metal color silver. I will just shade it with a neutral tone instead of the Reef Charger Gray. So take a neutral ink, something black, thin it down, do your TMM highlights and shadows, whatever. You can go up to white aluminium. Silver is really, really white. And then once all that is done, take contrast paints or inks and glaze them. You can glaze warm tones on the upper surfaces and blue tones on the upper surfaces and warm tones on the undersides, and that will give you a really nice effect. Also, whenever a shape is facing some cloth or a face or whatever, glaze a bit of that color too into the armor. That will help a lot. Hope that helps. Okay, Philosophy, sorry to bother you with another question, but will the Armageddon Steel Legion make an appearance? It depends if they really make new models, because at this point there are so many factions that I need to touch that I will try not to bother with none of the plastic kits, if I'm honest. If they make new ones, which I really hope they do, like make a new kit that will build different armies, different Imperial Guard regiments, I will do for sure. You might see some Krieg models, because I may paint a Krieg inspired kill team, because that's a project I really want to paint, but I'm not sure about that either. Benjamin, what color would I wet blend into my shadows if the end result is a navy blue? Probably you can go for black, or you can go for a really, really deep purple. Like, I will probably won't do it like a solid color. I probably do something like an ink, like a violet ink or purple ink, or even the shyish purple contrast paint. I think that would be really interesting. Timmy is asking, when doing an MM Gold on Stormcast minis, how do you decide where to place the highlights? If I'm honest, the first time I did it, I just went into the Darren Latham blog, which you have linked in that video, and I just copied what he does. Honestly, I just went and just copied where he places lights and shadows. He has a really detailed pictures of his Stormcast, and I just copied that. And once you start copying the style of others, you start to begin to understand where lights and shadows should go, and that really helps. Other thing you can do is just look for reference. I'm almost sure that the model you want to paint or something very similar has already been painted with NMM, so go and look for the work of others, and I'm sure you will find a reference. Also, 2D art, the classic artists, oil paintings and whatever, those are NMM. So looking at that will also help you understand where lights and shadows should be placed. So, Okay, Brian Mercado. Love your work, Juan. You make it look easy. Notice you show the thickness of glazes on your thumb. Will it be possible to see what palette? I'm just so lazy. Just first of all, I would need another camera, which I don't have, and then I will have to be aware that I have to switch on the recording and whatever and whatnot, and then I have to synchronize it with the actual video. It's a lot of work, and I honestly not really sure that for me it doesn't do anything when other YouTubers do it, especially when they don't mix colors like I do. I don't do like progressive mixes, so for me I don't think it's that useful. So maybe in the future, if the channel grows larger and I start to take it a bit seriously, maybe, but for now I highly doubt it. You mentioned Citadel Reds are great. Are there other go-to paints that you range or other ranges that you always reach for? Well, you already know that Citadel is my favorite range of paints, so anything from them I really like. Almost every color there. But I really like Scale 75 Metallics. I think they are fantastic. All of them. All the range, including the Alchemy range or whatever it's called. And Vallejo Metal Color paints are fantastic. I really like Vallejo Ivory. I really like Vallejo Off-White. I really like English Uniform, as I said, Japanese Uniform, beautiful colors. Let me see if I can see. Oh, all the Vallejo game inks, all the inks from Vallejo are fantastic too. The violet, especially the violet, is beautiful. Mainly those. I touch and go. I usually take Vallejo to cover the gaps in the Citadel range. So any color that I need that Citadel doesn't make, or I feel it is not the right hue, I just buy Vallejo, and it usually works really well. That's my thinking process. Hey, I'm sitting here. Ordo Master is asking. He's here at the same paint level for a while. Just can't do a smooth color transition. Need to understand better the light. Any advice? Yeah. If you want to understand how I blend, go and look for a video from Kuyo. Just search Kuyo, Kujo, and the video is called Fat Glazing, as it sounds. FAT glazing. And he explains how I basically glaze extremely well. It's the best video I've seen of my technique, so go and watch it. And I hope you really get how he does things and how I do things. Kuvdam 0706 PSN. Your English is great, Juan. Did you study it at school in Spain? Yes, I did. I went to a private school, so I was studying English since I was, 5 or 6 years old, like a proper course. And then when I have to remember that, when I was about 10, I went to England for the first time with the English family, and I did that for 5 or 6 years on a row. So I started really, really young, and I think that really helps. Hi, have you ever found, Kevin is asking, have you ever found a use for gloss or semi-gloss finishes on your miniatures? I did for a while, a long time ago, but right now if I want something to look glossy, I just paint like it's glossy, and that makes for a really good effect. I don't like to use varnishes that are not the ultramatte, basically the ultramatte from AK or other ultramatte varnishes, except over metallics, of course. Oh yeah, Heather, so was your birthday present. Yeah. I almost forgot about that. Okay, so Heather, which is absolutely amazing, has sent me this. Whoa, sent me this in the mail, which I think is absolutely the best present no one has ever given me. You see the little ultramarine pin? Fantastic. Thank you, Heather. Celethar or Celesar or whatever that's pronounced. Sorry. Hello from Greece. I love your job, mate. Is it a really bad idea to mix NMM and TMM, I guess, on the same miniature? I wouldn't do it, honestly. If you go for NMM, just go full NMM, and if you do TMM, go TMM. Except if you are painting something over clothes, which metallic paints over clothing looks really bad. So if I'm going to paint like a golden embroidery on a cloak or whatever, I will just paint that with the NMM technique, and the rest will be TMM. But other than that, no, I don't like it personally. A Dark Commission is saying that he will be uploading his first YouTube video. Great, that's fantastic. It's a great project to make. It's something that really teaches you a lot of skills that you don't usually touch. So great idea. Thank you, Holtube. I hope you have a nice day. Yeah, Comizar is saying that Vallejo Game Color was going to be the new Citadel range, which is true. But Citadel closed the deal or turned down the deal just in the last minute, and Vallejo were so pissed that they just released those paints on their own. So yeah, that is true, actually. Do you always hate wet blending? Does it still not click you when doing with Citadel contrast? For some reason, I even painted a bit of oil. I tried to do oil painting in when doing art in school, and it just doesn't click with me for some reason. Wet blending is something that I just never managed to pull off. Maybe I will give it a try in the future again, just because I think it's very useful, but it just doesn't click with me. Maybe I was doing something wrong, and honestly I haven't tried it in a very long while, so maybe I will have to make a change. So Gerjan Van Hout, or Van Hout, no sé cómo se, I don't really know how to pronounce that, or I was even going to say that in Spanish. I love your videos getting into Warhammer, starting with Grey Knights. Your videos are a huge help so far. Glad I could help you. I really appreciate it. Do we have any more questions here? No? Yes. Oh, sorry about that. I missed that. Okay, I'm getting ready to paint a black raven. How would you deal with an all black creature? Don't want a black bird blob. Yeah, that's a very good question. Because the ravens have black beaks and have black feathers and black feet. What I will do with ravens is I will paint everything black to start from, and then I will highlight the feathers using blues, so the usual like Incubi Darkness, Thunderhawk Blue, Fenrisian Grey, whatever, you know the deal. Or you can use pure blues, like goes through the blue route, but I would prefer the colder greys. And then I will highlight the beak and the legs using warm greys, so something like Stormvermin Fur, Skaven Blight Dinge, you know, all those warm greys. That will really make a difference. It will really show. So thank you, Heather, by the way. Have you ever played, Will White asking, have you ever played with the Chimera colors? I never seem to find them on stock. I've tried to purchase them a lot of times and they are never on stock, so no. If I ever find this set on stock, I don't want to buy individual colors, I want to buy the whole set. If I find a whole set on stock, I will for sure buy it. Because I think it's really interesting to have single pigments, and I think the red is really good, and red is one of my favorite colors, so I want to test it out. What do you, Dark Commissions, what do you think of color shift paints? I like them in the right situation. I haven't used them. The problem I see is they only really work well when applied with an airbrush, and I don't own one. Also, I think it's more interesting if I apply, if I want to paint something that looks like color shift. I think it's more interesting for me at least to paint that by hand, so to speak. So if I want something that shifts from purple to green, I prefer to paint that using purple and green rather than using the color shift. It won't shift, but it will look really cool. But that's just my opinion. It's just a tool like any other. If it works for you, I've seen some amazing examples. Angel Giraldez did a couple of videos with the Vallejo shifters, and they look really good. But also, he's a really good painter, so maybe it doesn't work for most people, but I've seen some very good results. Nuno Segura is asking, good evening. Which minute would you really love to paint? Would you try to make weathering or planchitsu? What mini I would like to paint? That's a very good question. Well, I would like to have time to paint my armies for once, but I'm really having a lot of fun with the Shovelcast project. That's something that I had so much fun painting. But apart from that, I would really like to find a really good Elric of Melnibone miniature or bust, whatever. I've been wanting to paint one of those for a long time, and I haven't found one that is really, really good. So yeah, about for planchitsu, I don't like it. I understand why people like it. It's not for me. I like Mike McVeigh heavy metal style. That's where the money is for me. I really like. I've been growing watching the 90s and early noughties White Dwarfs, and that's what just clicks in my mind. Like really bright colors, really bright, really broad, intense highlights. I really like that. Of course, taking it to a modern standard, not every color needs to be full saturation, but you get the deal. And for weathering, I kind of like it. I've been experimenting with weathering in the Chaos Space Marine heavy contrast videos, so yeah, that was really fun. I will probably do more of that. That was really, really good fun. Heather is asking, watch a lot of Necron videos recently and nobody seems to bother with Tefra Cloud. It's rubbish. No, it's not. It's actually, you know what I found? It's actually really similar to Mood Green. It's really, really close and even separates in the same kind of way. It's probably has some, I think it's kind of a Mood Green diluted and with a tiny bit of fluorescent pigment in it. It's really good. I actually like it. I used it in my Necron heavy contrast video and I really like it. The problem is when I did the blade, I wanted to replicate what the heavy metal team did, and they didn't use it. So at least I think they didn't use it in the studio painting. So, but yeah, I like it. It's like a fluorescent green, but it's already thinned down, which is honestly really helpful, and I think it works really well. Have you ever tried the Citadel Air colors as glazes? No, I don't have any of the air paints. I may have to get a few of them. Yeah, Matthew Stanley. Yeah, the old heavy metal models have something red no matter the model. Yeah, something red. Always something red. That's one. Honestly, the only Ultramarines that I tolerate really are the 90s, the third edition, second edition ones with the red guns. I really love that look. That bright blue, yellow Aquilas, yellow trim, and a bright red gun. That's the best Ultramarine scheme ever. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Gomethara is being from where he is. It's really hard to get paint. Yeah, that that is a really hard place to live if you want to be a hobbyist. If I'm honest. So nostalgic Space Marines, yeah, nostalgic Space Marines are the best Space Marines. I refuse to paint Blood Angels that don't have black trim and a yellow Aquila. That's just not how Blood Angels look. Okay, any particular contrast paints you will recommend Randy as a skin? Without going for a full contrast style. Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, let me let me see if I don't forget any of them. My favorite ones and ones that I use for a lot of things. Black Templar, which I use pure and diluted as a wash over metallics. Wildwood, again, the same way. Fantastic colors. Grief Charger Grey is absolutely a must for me. I paint steel armor with it. Absolutely beautiful. Gilliman Flesh and Dark Oath Flesh for the same reason. They are fantastic as washes over gold, and as well as painting flesh. When I'm painting my elf army, what I do is I do the base coats. I spray them with Wraithbone, and I paint a coat of Gilliman Flesh on the flesh, Yanden Yellow on the clothes, and all the pink parts I do Volupus pinks, and then just move on from that. It's so good. Also, yeah, Yanden Yellow makes painting yellow so easy, so easy. I get it. That is a must for me. And I also like Skeleton Horde. Skeleton Horde is fantastic. I would like to see your version of the Mentor. So I won't paint any more Space Marines apart from the 18 Legions I already did. Because I have already explained this, but if I go down the rabbit hole of painting any successor chapter, I will have to paint them all at some point, because people will just keep asking for them. And I honestly, maybe when I have painted one of each of all the factions of AOS and Warhammer 40k, I may do more Space Marines. But in the meantime, I think we need to show all the Xenos players like a bit of love. And the Holy Banshees, yeah, Holy Banshees. I will paint. I have one ready to paint. I just don't know when I will do it. Probably, I don't know. Probably after the Caradon Overlord, because I want to mix AOS and 40k. So maybe that's coming. Eldar are my favorite army from 40k. So yeah. Kevin's asking, do you ever use an airbrush? No, because I don't have one. I've been thinking of getting one just for base coats, because I hate base coating and for apply thin layers of varnish. But it's quite a big investment, and honestly, right now with all the situation, I just prefer to save a bit of money just in case everything goes to, it's been a dumpster fire of a year, so I'm just cautious with it. Bye, Dark Commission. Happy to have seen you here. Yeah, I'm saying contrast Grey Knights. Well, I have already done Grey Knight armor, so I think that is done, and the rest is just the same. but I may do one at some point. I have a model, so I may as well use it. But I don't consider them like real Space Marines, so not like they are not part of the. So the thing is, I could paint one without breaking my rules, so. And it's not like the Death Watch, which are all black, and I see no point doing another black Space Marine, if I'm honest. Sebastian, I'm guessing by the surname. Do you think you can show off a decent way to do heavy contrast style dark skin for the next time you paint a human? I may do, yeah. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I will. Yeah, are there any conventions you're looking forward to visiting once all this craziness stops? Yes, Golden Demon. Apart from that, just before all this happened, I was planning on doing classes and courses, probably in the UK because I have friends there and I can stay for free. And I know UK people are more than happy and willing to pay for painting classes, so that sounded like a good idea. But all this hit, and honestly, I'm not sure until probably a couple of years more that all this will be calm enough. We will see. Hopefully. James Clanton is asking, would you ever consider live stream painting? Yes, I did, and I now have 2 cameras, and I may do it. Maybe. I need to find something that I will enjoy to paint on camera, and I will, yeah. The problem is, the only time I have to do it would be when I can't record videos, and that also means that it's a time that I have to decide between live streaming and spending time with my family, so you know the deal. Dimitri is asking how to paint blue. Very carefully. When you paint blue, you have to be very careful. You don't want to really touch that more than it's enough. Only Juan's meetup, yeah, that's gonna be a sexy meetup once I go to the UK. Yeah, as Tim is pointing out, they have been discussing about the air range for Citadel. It comes pretty thin, but honestly, if you watch the Airbrush tutorials, Citadel, the Warhammer TV did, you honestly need to thin down a bit more. It was too thick. That poor Airbrush was just so. It was a suffering Airbrush. That one, poor thing. But yeah, it's thinner than the regular paint. But apart from that, I believe it's not different. So if I'm honest, I would just get the regular paint and thin them because you will get more for your money. But whatever. Team, hi Juan, thanks for the video on the Necron blade for the plasma. Happy to help. 2 questions. Well, ask them. I'm waiting. Randy, do you use Flow8? No, I don't have it. I've been using Liquitex Flow8 diluted one in 20, but I wonder if you should use more than that. I don't have Flow8, and if I've been thinking of getting some, and I know Vince is a really good fan of the watercolors pre-made Flow8. So if I get one, it will be that one because I trust him. Well, have the same question that will be answered easily. So ML and Eduardo is asking where I'm from. Yes, I'm from Spain. I'm from Bilbao. Best city in the world. Tim, first question, how to pick the darker and lighter areas on bigger blades so they look good? For example, Separate Destroyers. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The only thing you need to decide is how many spaces of dark and light you want, how many subdivisions. So I think for the Necron blade I did dark, light, and dark. I have it right there. So I did like 3 sections. So dark, light, dark, and the other part in the other side of the blade, in the other facet of the blade, I did light, dark, light. So choose how many of those you want. 3. For larger braids, I will go minimum of 3, and probably you can do 4. And the key is that you respect. If you do a facet like the cutting edge, whatever you do there in the flat part of the blade, you need to do the opposite, and that's the only thing you really need to do. And if you do that, it will look good. It doesn't matter as long as you follow the rules. It's just the only thing that you have to follow is that it has to be maximum contrast between the 2 facets. So if it's white here, it should be black here. That's the only thing that matters. And 2, what color scheme do you think is good for Necrons as a beginner? I will honestly, if I ever painted a Necron army, I will do the same as in my heavy contrast Necrons video, which was so easy to do, so fast. But just don't be an idiot and don't prime the model in the wrong color to start with. So yeah. Oh, besides the usual green, metallic, bronze, copper, yeah. Yeah, that was. So if you want a beginner, and I don't know, I will probably go, if you don't want the traditional colors, I will honestly just do a simple silver metallic, like the classic Necrons, and I will probably do a pink, a hot pink glow, like a fluorescent pink glow. That looks really good. So pink, purple, and steel. Oh yeah, Heather is pointing out how bad the Warhammer TV video on contrast paints on vehicles was. It's just, oh yeah, that was really bad. That was really bad. And also another one that the video itself is really good. Is the Duncan video, on how to use contrast paints. Everything is fantastic except when he's painting the ultramarine, which was so bad that he had to relayer it with Macrack blue over all the contrast, which defines the point. And that was bad. The rest of the video is fantastic, but the ultramarine is just no. Sorry, Duncan. I love you, but that wasn't good. Yeah, Eduardo is asking, do you plan to go into any painting competition like Golden Demon or Crystal Brush? I plan to go to the next Golden Demon if I can. I'm really looking forward to that. But just imagine the sheer amount of painters that is going to be there. The build up to this Golden Demon is being insane, and it's going to be probably one of the hardest Golden Demons ever. Oh yeah, it's going to be insane. Oh, what's something some mini painters do, Sebastian is asking, what painters do that you think looks too tacky or gimmicky? Well, that's a good question. Yeah, something I don't like, it's when people that just get the mini, you get an airbrush, and you just airbrush everything with smooth gradients and then just throw a super tacky edge highlight all over it and just call it a day. I think that looks horrible. You can use an airbrush. That's fantastic for creating the start of the initial blends, but you need to refine it with some glazes so it doesn't look like an airbrushed mini. And then please, if you do an edge highlight, do it the proper way and do it in several stages. That's my thought, at least. Gamethar is asking, is I going to go to Adepticon? If I have the money, I will, but I'm poor, so I don't know. Heather is asking, hey Juan, when are you going to pay someone on Fiverr to paint for you? Whew, that was a good burn. Yeah, I'm not even going to answer that question because you Heather already know what I think of those videos. Philip Jordan, I'm gonna check those Necron videos then afterwards. Yeah, do please. Views for the views, God. So, we've been here for about an hour, says my clock in the live chat. Oh, favorite chaos god, Slanesh. And not because of the jokes, but because I really think that's the most interesting of them all. Because the other ones, I mean, Korn is just so basic. Like that is the point, but it's just very one-dimensional, as are funny enough Singe and Nurgle. They're, I mean, Nurgle is fun, and Singe seems like he's like master of deceit, but I just don't like it. But I think Slanesh is really interesting in how the concept of the video is of the god itself, because Slanesh is one god that one chaos god that you praise, that anything you do can turn into the realm of Slanesh, because he's the god of excess. So anything can be, he can affect you in any way, whatever you do. So that it be eating, drinking, whatever is. I think that is whatever you do, that can be a way to get Slanesh to you. So I think that is pretty interesting. Great Hornrad, yeah, that's a good one. I just don't like Skaven. I'm a Lizardman player. I only have GW Metallics, Chieftains asking, sorry, I forgot to read your name. I only have GW Metallics at the moment. How could I create colored metallics like purple or green without going MMM? Do a layer of Ironbreaker or Stone for Silver, one of the bright metallics. Then get your contrast paints, whatever color you want, and just put it on top. Watch my heavy contrast Alpha Legion and you will get a very good sample of what I'm talking about. Just choose the color you want. You will probably have to thin it so you don't lose all your metallic sheen, and you will have color metallics in one layer. You have to do that Noise Marine. I may paint it at some point, maybe. About to paint my first bust. Any advice? Yes, whatever you do with your regular minis, do it, turn it to 11. So if you add a lot of texture, because busts are so big that you are going to see the texture. So if you do a skin, have a bit of texture, you can add some freckles, you can add scars, you can add very tiny, subtle, please, but texture in the cloth. That's the kind of things the busts are for. Michael Wright, how would you paint the glass on the back of the keg on the new Bugman model? Well, that's a good question, and that's a question that I will answer when I paint him, because he will be the Christmas special heavy contrast episode. So stay tuned, it is coming. I have the miniature almost with me. The shop hasn't called me yet, but I think it's there. Yeah, as Batman says, Batman. Ooh. As Batman says, test before all contrast paints don't have the same coverage. Yeah, thin. That's why I advise him to thin them first, probably 1-to-1 at least, because some of the contrast paints are really intense. So yeah, test first. Always test first. Don't go into your proper menu without testing it. Yep, that seems like it. So yeah, that's all. We have been here for an hour, guys. I really appreciate you all being here. If there aren't any more questions, if you have more questions, this is the last chance. This is the last chance to ask any questions. And while you ask any questions or not, please remember to hit subscribe if you are not subscribed, like the video, and once this is over, you can even leave a comment. It helps with engagement. And also, please click the join button if you want, or join my Patreon, whatever you fancy. That really helps. Do like Christopher has done. Look at him. Look at how beautiful that green name with the men at arms looks. Awesome. Thank you, Christopher. Asking, do you use oil washes? No, I haven't. I did when I painted airplane models a long time ago, and they were fun to use, but I haven't used them on minis. I don't have any oil paints. I may dab into oil paints. The blame is Bin's videos. I may give it a try. Yeah, as I just said, maybe when I get my oils and experiment with them for a while so I'm comfortable with them, I will probably make a video with oils. That sounds like fun. Yeah, Philip's pointing out that Ultramarines contrast paint flows really badly, and it does. Ultramarine blue contrast paint is probably one of the worst of the range. It's just, I just don't like to use it alone. When I use them for my video, I mix it with, I usually mix it with Talazar Blue. It's a really good color to mix into Talazar Blue because it makes it less saturated and less intense, and that really helps. But on its own, oh no, it's too much. Non-heavy metal style. I like to paint heavy metal style, so that's what I like to do. So I see no point in doing. If you want Blanchie to, there are other channels that are really good. I can't remember the name, Saskatoon or something like that. He is really good. I'm not. Also, Marco Frisoni for Not Just Make. He's really good with oils. So you want other style than heavy metal. There are other people that are doing a better job than I will do. Yeah, Paradox says, I've been trying your tricks and tips on a Slanesh model, and nowhere near as good as yourself, but it's slowly working. That is the way to get better. If you want to get better, you need to try to get better. So you're doing the right thing. Gerard is asking, thank you for tutorials, Juan. They are very helpful. I bought a lot of contrast paints because of you. Saludos. Lo mismo. Gracias. Yeah. As you just said, paint what you love. That makes sense, yes. So, that seems like a good note to close this live stream. So thank you all that have been here. I really appreciate you being here. We have been about 68 people now. That's fantastic. Okay, Bright898, ask your question. I will give you that. So we'll just wait for Bright890 to write his question, and then I will close this. But again, thank you all for being here. That's been amazing to have you here. As always, really good fun. I really hope you also had a good day, had a good time with me. The same as I say to Bright Synthas, if you have a question, do it now, because that will be the last chance. Heather is of course trolling me because that's just how she is, how to paint blue. I also, funny enough, I already answered that question very carefully. Oh, there you go. So I have quite large anxiety when I start painting a mini. I get really stressed about it and struggle to put the brush to mini. Just wonder if you experience this or have any tips. Honestly, I don't, but I kind of get what you are experimenting. So you basically have a fear of not doing a good job, and you have to think that there is no way you can ruin a mini with paint. You can always strip it if the paint coats are too thick, but if you don't ever paint a mini, if you don't start painting, then you will never paint anything. So just paint it. If it's not perfect, doesn't matter. As Ben says, perfect is the enemy of done. So just paint, and you will get better. And if you don't like it, don't strip it. Just paint another model, and you will get better with time. But yeah, just sit down. As I said to another viewer, just sit down and do something. Just base coat something. You cannot mess a base coat, so just do something. Ah, Keegan says he just got Shovel Knight because of me. I hope you are liking that game. It's a fantastic game. Same for Nicholas. Yeah, it's so good. George Senior is asking, are you single? No, I'm not single. I'm married. I have a wife and a kid. I'm really happy. But I really appreciate the offer. Yeah, as Dark Souls is a game about get good. You will die a lot of times, but you will get good. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's just messing up, and you will learn a lot. Oh, thank you very much from Australia. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bright. That was fantastic. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really like that video of tabletop minions. He does have a point. There is a lot of people have a fear of doing things bad, and you can't really do things bad in a hobby. It's just a hobby. Just enjoy it. Balance is child to minis. That's your mission. It's not. He's too young still. He's 4 years old and he has no interest whatsoever. But maybe one day. Yeah, Helen said put the perfection paralysis. Yeah, that happens. Yeah, a lot of people. It seems like people struggle with just starting, just getting started, and that's why I say just sit down in your chair and just paint some boots, something that doesn't really require any compromise, and you will be painting and when you realize that you will have spent hours on your chair painting. So yeah. Oh, if I get it with my videos, thankfully I don't know why I used to have that. I sometimes do. Okay, yeah. I am lying. I do, and it's with each time that I have to start recording a video and a new of the Stormcast project, one of the NMM videos, because that is, I mean, it's the hardest technique for me to paint. It just requires a lot of blending, and I'm never sure if I'm going to do it well. And it's always, I mean, I'm going to be in for a long time. Also, probably about 30 hours on each model. So it's one of those things that when I just get, yeah, I do. But in the end, I just that's what I have the channel for, is to push me to paint things and not just sit in my chair watching videos. So yeah, for this, for me, that I am a professional procrastinator, that this channel has been quite a good training, let's just say. I use the same Matthew Jonathan Matthew Jonathan has been asking if I use an airbrush. I don't own one. I don't have one, so no. Bright said, not a huge fan of NMM. I feel like everyone on YouTube is obliged to do it. The thing with NMM is one of those techniques that even if you don't do it, if you want to get better at painting, you should practice it. Not because of the NMM itself, but the techniques and things that learning how to do it will teach you. So it's fantastic training. And I do get it why people do it on YouTube, because it really makes an impact, and it's one of those things that really cuts the people attention, and it's also really fun. Yeah, Brad says, awesome. Your Dire Avenger XR is a huge inspiration for me. I bought one of the metal models and I'm super keen to paint him up. Yeah, do it. It's really good fun. Yeah. So, yeah. I think that's all. It's 1 hour 14 minutes. It's been really, really amazing. Again, thank you very much for watching, guys. It's been a really good time for me. I always have fun with this P.A.B. sessions. And I will catch you in the next one, which will be next month. So I will try to do it before Christmas at some point. Not sure, but I must try for middle of the month. So see you there. And there will be a video on this Friday, because I have a video that I have been not wanting to edit, that I haven't been really keen on editing it. Don't know why. It's one of those things. But I will edit that video and it will be out on Friday. It just won't be a tutorial. And once that video is done, I will just keep recording my end video. That will be next week. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.